We've kind of become known for our word of the year. And when we went through this process and you heard the word elevate, kind of what does that mean to you? What do you think about when you think about elevate?
I think of that as being more focused and more intentional when you elevate. Like, you really want to do things right and do it right the first time, right? That's really what you should be doing.
Elevate to me means pretty much reimagining, I think, a lot of the things that we're doing communications-wise to step it up, take it to a new level.
What it means to me is that it's time to start elevate, propel.
But then it becomes intentionality. So to me, to elevate, it's an intentionality that you're applying, and it's just next level.
We need to rethink some of the things that we do on the communications aspect, and just how overall we can make Broad River Retail just a better place for everyone.
Why do you think it's right for Broad River for 2023, this word theme, elevate?
So again, we are very intentional as a company. When you go and you look back at our words of the year over the past 5 or 6 years, and last year we were thriving. And what is after thriving? You've come out of some really bad times and you go in, you're really thriving, you're really being focused on being better and getting better. What's next? It's that word. It's what's next. And that, to me, when you think about elevate, it's endless. The opportunities are endless, which when Jim came up with the logo, I was really surprised, but I was really thrilled about it because it can tell such a story. We don't have a boundary. We're going where no company has gone before. So that's why I was very excited about elevate for Broad River.
There's so much good in what you just said there. And first of all, we did thrive last year. We're intentional with these, all this stuff we've got here on the table. We got best places to work in the furniture industry, one of 10 companies. And for our second year in a row, we've got our Chairman's Award. We won the AFL last year.
Yeah, we did.
We try to win that, and that's acknowledging all the great licensees and operators out there. And we're just trying to compete with the greats out there. And we were honored and humbled to get the Chairman's Award for 2022. And, we like to say what Solfin said, the biggest impediment to tomorrow's success is today's success. And so you kind of hit the nail on the head. You said, where do we go from here? And, I think what Jim came up with, and when you really, you listen to like a little bit of pushback on the creative
part did.
For me,
Sure.
But then you really responded to it and helped me connect to it better, because you said going where no company's gone before. And I don't want to say Star Trek, but it is kind of outer space, the solar system and planetary, like it's out beyond the atmosphere. And cause I always had this vision of, hey, tying it to these quarterly themes like we've had and scaling, 4 mountains, 1 per quarter, Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro. And you said, we've done the mountain thing before. And walk us through like this kind of outer space kind of theme that Jim's come up with, because you had a really great way to explain that.
Yeah. So when Jim and Manny went to the table, and Manny was just so gracious enough, he's like, hey, Jim, there's your blank slate, just go for it. And that's where we get our best work, is when you don't put any guardrails around that. And he talked about, when you talk about the next level, what is above those mountains? Let's get above the clouds. Let's get into outer space. And so it's taking off, right? So you have a trajectory. You're taking off at the base, right? If you think about a ship, you're taking off, and from there, the astronaut really doesn't know. If they've not gone into that outer space, it's an unknown, and it can be really fun. It can be really exciting, but also intentional, because you're there for a purpose, right? You're there to get to the next level. You're there to find out what's next. And along the way, you're going to have some learnings. You're going to have, oops, we shouldn't have done that. Or, we need to do more of that. So you're taking off. You get above the clouds. You get outside that atmosphere, and then you're looking back. When we went through the story of looking back at Earth, we're looking back at our past, where we've been, to always keeping that in our rear view mirror, to make sure that we're keeping that, those learnings.
So we're pushing the frontier, going to new boundaries, boundaryless, but we're also anchored by the success we've had in the past.
Correct.
Looking back, that's great.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways. I mean, there's the space guy in the ship,
Yeah.
and then there's the rocket ship with all the people in Broad River in it, and you've got some windows with the Ashley logo, which we've never done. You've got the incorporation Jim talked about of the Broad River logo on the moon, and so we've got all these different designs. What can you tell us about how you're incorporating the logo? I mean, we've got coffee mugs, playing cards, stickers, pens, and I'm sure you've got several things up your sleeve. So talk to us about kind of how this is a campaign. It's not a word of the year. It's not a logo. It's a campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a campaign. And so we're looking at it a little bit differently this year as well. So typically what we'll do is we get the campaign, we get the elements and T-shirts, whatever, and everybody gets the same, right? So now we're kind of looking at it a little differently. So, what's important or what operations folks want to use is not necessarily the things that the folks in the corporate office are going to use, right? Or in the stores. And so, we have some commonalities that we tie together, but we chose the playing cards this year because we thought that was a little fun.
Yeah.
We thought that was fun. Yeah, and it's going to be a campaign throughout the year. So you're going to have us little drips. I keep getting asked about that astronaut. So we're going to make sure we bring him back.
Well, I love the Elevate pens. I will definitely be adding this to my coffee mug collection. And my boys love the stickers, and I love the stickers.
Holographic.
They came out. Holographic. They came out great. Okay, so Elevate. This year we talked about being entrepreneurial within your department. We said, listen, we're not going to focus on 4 key projects like we had last year with Project SHIP, Project Breakwater, Project PDX, Project MMX. We said instead we're going to have 4 cornerstones, which are financial, innovation, customer experience, and memory maker experience. Within those 4 cornerstones, we want each of our department leaders to be intrapreneurs within their own department and raise the game, and then report back to the greater leadership team of where they're doing, where they're winning, where they need some assistance or more resources, et cetera. So how are you looking to elevate within marketing, communications, and community outreach, or some of the areas that you're really excited about in 2023?
I'm very excited about this. So, 3 departments, but they still need to weave together and work together. So this year, I worked with Jocelyn and worked on a strategy and talked to Stacy about it. So I've really synthesized again the strategy for how my departments are going to come together to make one way forward. And ultimately, that is for the guest experience. Ultimately, that is what we are here to do. And then also we're elevating the experience for the guests, but we also want to elevate our brand as Broad River.
I love that.
So it's just looking across the board to say, where can we make a difference to elevate the experience internally for our memory makers and also externally for our guests.
So Tyler, this is the first year we will have a full-time employee memory maker in communications for the entire year. You were the first hire we ever had in communications for a full-time communications role.
History maker.
That's right. And so it was always like an ad hoc part of someone else's job, internal and external communications. I had a hand in it. Kim had a hand in it, or whoever in marketing, even our executive assistant had a hand in it. Different people were helping with, and human capital had a hand in it with various elements of communications. What does it mean? Like, we just went through a presentation. You just gave a presentation on taking communications to social media, like a 63 deck slide. It was a great presentation yesterday. So talk to us about like what communications is at the River and how you're thinking about it for 2023.
Well, storytelling is truly my passion. I love brand storytelling and storytelling just as a whole. I went to journalism school. I was a news reporter for 3 years, and then I went into education in the communications side. Always took along with me kind of the aspect of storytelling. And I truly believe Broad River Retail, we have a phenomenal story to tell. Just how we operate, how we treat our people, how there's so many people who are passionate about what they do at Broad River Retail and how they deeply care not only about the company as a whole, but everybody else that they work with. So elevating the story of Broad River Retail is a focus of mine. And the number one place to do it, I think at this point, and I think a lot of people would agree, is on social media. everyone is on social media at this point right now. So we have a pretty decent following on LinkedIn, and really looking to elevate the way that we talk about Broad River, how often we talk about Broad River, and everything that we're sharing about Broad River this year on LinkedIn.
Talking about storytelling, we had quite a bit of stories to tell with grand openings last year, and in the first season we did on the podcast, you started to come in and play and really kind of help the post-production on the podcast. Have you listened to every episode or most of them?
I've listened to every episode since I've been with the River in April. So I don't know how many that is, but it's like 30 plus.
and you're really involved behind the scenes now and helping us bring the podcast to life. That's, serves a dual purpose, both internal communications and external communications. If you could touch on internal communications beyond just our own podcast and town halls, what are some of the ideas you're ruminating on with how you're planning to elevate communications internally? And then we'll talk about externally.
Sure. So internally, I would like to say that I'm really excited about season 2 of this podcast. Okay. I love the format that we're going with this year, and I think it's going to take it to the next level. So I think number one, that's going to be a great way to elevate our internal communications. Another way is we're exploring the idea of an intranet. So a one-stop shop for everybody within the company to find information that's relevant to their department and make it much faster, easier, and less search time. So we're beginning that process this year, and really excited. And I think that's going to be a big game changer for Broad River Retail as a whole.
Awesome. Okay, now going back to external, what does the communications team look like at the end of 2023 in your ideal elevated status?
Boy, that I could really go on for that, but ideally, I'd hope to have someone managing social media. Mm-hmm. That way we can go, we have someone going all in on our social media platforms. We'll have someone on the community outreach side going all in, elevating our community outreach efforts that we do in our communities throughout the regions that we serve. And then I'd love to have an internal graphic designer that would report to Jim Goins, but someone that is working a lot on those social media graphics, but also some of the other requests that we get from other departments that help out maybe the MMX team, the talent team, and really just throughout everything that's Broad River Retail oriented, this person would be the graphics person. So that is my ideal team.
Let me turn it over to you. What goes into a creation of a word of the year theme and graphics and artwork?
Well, I think that the first thing we need to do is have some long conversations, important conversations about what Elevate means to Broad River Retail and how we want the voice to be, basically, for that word. Because Elevate can mean a few different things or come from different perspectives depending on the person or the company. So it's important for me to get a good understanding with conversations with you or Manny or anybody in leadership to just try and get a good idea of how we want to represent ourselves as elevating.
Okay. And typically you and I have had some conversations on the theme of the year, and then you and Kim have kind of unpacked that a little bit. And then we would present that to a small group of our leaders and to the larger leadership group. We changed the order of operations this year, and you and Manny really got into those conversations. So talk to us about what the vision, the pitch was for the word elevate and kind of what you heard, what Manny said and what you heard.
Through the conversation, Manny said something to me that just sparked in my brain. It was maybe instead of us trying to show a person climbing up a mountain, or if we, like what we would do traditionally, he said, well, maybe we could do like an airplane or something like that. So that was important to me because that set my mind in motion on how we can actually elevate the Elevate logo, go beyond where we have before with the logos, and try to come up with something really different and something that will really grab people's attention and show them that we actually plan to elevate.
Okay. And when you heard, so he said something that really you connected to.
Correct.
When the first versions of the logos were presented to me and to our executive strategy team going through this, I had this vision in my head of, hey, we're going to break this into 4 quarters and like dip 4 different mountain peaks. Because last year with our big, thriving, audacious goal, you actually created this whole version of scaling the mountain all the way up to this revenue goal that we had. And we hit level 2 on that target. And we really wanted to run that play back this year and throw more, elevate the payout levels and really go after our get elevated goals this year. We're just going to take the what we had successful with the big, thriving, audacious goal, the B tag last year, where we paid out company-wide bonuses to everyone, and do a get elevated goal. So I thought we might have like, okay, we'll do 4 mountain peaks, and end up with like Mount Kilimanjaro or something, or Mount Everest, the for the 4th quarter and scaling the mountains. And so when I saw the first versions, it was not what I expected, right? There's this beautiful design and graphic. There was the guy in the space suit and the guy in outer space. And then you also had a second version, which was a rocket launch, but it was the launch event, which I was like, that might be good for like a kickoff event.
Correct. Yes.
But it's a single, how does that sustain itself into Q3 or Q4? Because you've already, how do you continue to launch? So that was a little bit of the feedback. And then the other feedback was, it looks like it's a solo mission. And we really like the idea of, with Forward Together, you had the teamwork. With Thrive, you had different people in different areas of the Broad River regions coming together to a collective goal. And so riff on that for a little bit.
I have to say that I am happy that we ended up staying in that kind of genre. But we did go through a few iterations, and honestly, sometimes those can be painful, but also they get us to where we need to be. And it's very much like I said at the beginning of the conversation about having feedback from you or Manny, anybody who is part of that idea, and really getting a good handle on what the goal is. And feedback acts the same way. It's basically a back and forth a lot of times. Sometimes, it might work out better than others. This time it worked out really well. There was some requests that there were multiple people, and I just wanted to do something cleaner and more modern and more elevated than we had done in the past. And earlier you mentioned that there was 5 logos that I worked on, and if we line those logos up, you will see that from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, every year those logos got more sophisticated. And I wanted this one, and I noticed that earlier on. So I wanted to make sure my goal is every time I do one that it outdoes the one that we did before that, So let's face it, we all try to elevate. We should all be trying to elevate at least all the time. And so it's important for me for me, my purpose at the company, to feel like I have done my job and fulfilled the goal. So I really came back and said, listen, the logos get really busy with multiple people. It's really hard to show, that much in a logo. This is a logo. And, it's more than a logo at Broad River Retail. It's I don't even know how to explain it, because we do try to tell a full story in our logos. And, it's not like the Target brand or the Nike brand where it's just a symbol. So it gets a little more complicated, because when you're trying to tell that story, everybody has their own perception, and your perception may be one, and somebody else's perception may be different. So it does get complicated when you're showing that out to multiple people who may have different perspectives. So, I really tried to push back and say, I don't think we need to put multiple people in. So I decided to try and make the rocket really work as representing Broad River Retail. That rocket is Broad River Retail, and that we were all in that rocket together.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's where we ended up.
Yeah. And it's not a single launch event. You took the feedback, and it's this is a playing card, but it's in motion. We wanted something it's showing continuous motion, and it's not a single launch event, and it's got the Broad River logo. Tell us about what the symbolism of the Broad River logo is.
Well, I actually, if you look close, there is a texture of the moon and the color of the moon. So it represents the moon.
Okay. And so it's in outer space.
It's in outer space. You're right. There was a concern earlier on that the rocket just looked like it was launching and it wasn't already in outer space.
It wouldn't have staying power.
Right. What I got from that was, okay, we need to make this look like it's already taken off and we're already halfway there. So what I did was I added movement to it.
Yep.
I added the moon above it and the earth below it, so that you could tell that it has already left Earth and it is on its way.
So it's on the journey, but it's not arrived.
It is. And some of the iterations of the logo that we've done for other things actually shows the planets. So it gets it more in detail. And so it does definitely feel like we're elevating.
Yeah, and whether it's the rocket or the spaceship, because you did do a version with the spaceship, you've got a little bit of something we've never done before. You've got the Ashley logo, like as a window or as headlights on the spaceship, if I recall correctly.
It was, yes.
And then we added the year to note it's 2023. So talk to us about the incorporation of the Ashley logo.
Okay, I'll tell you about that one. And Manny, actually, I think it was when we were reviewing one that I had already done, and he just happened to mention, maybe we should try to work in Ashley somehow, some way. That simple.
Okay.
And in the past, we didn't do that, but I thought it was a good idea because they're really a big part of our identity, right? So,
well, our vision is to be the premier Ashley operator, right? And so that's an aspirational vision that we have. So it's certainly in our vision. We are Broad River Retail, but we only operate Ashley stores. So I thought that was a neat little tie-in there to bring that together. Okay. But, you mentioned all that goes into the design of it, and it's a collective feedback, but you've got to have one person who's got the vision and takes that. But there's also so much that goes into like just the selection of the word itself. It's not just one person, saying, come down with the tablet and say, here's our word of the year. It's a leadership team trying to synthesize the zeitgeist of where we are as a company and what would not just fit for January, but would fit for 12 months and build a whole program around it, and then build we call it logo, but really a whole campaign around it, if you will.
Correct. Yes.
So you talked about elevating professionally. How are you going to elevate personally in 2023?
I decided that I need to adopt a more healthy lifestyle. Now, I've had that lifestyle in the past, but it was time to bring it back.
I go back to what elevate means to me, and that is the intentionality. And so that is not just to elevate myself, but making sure that I'm elevating others.
Truly elevate, I've kind of applied to me personally in my personal life, in really trying to elevate the things that I'm passionate about.
And I've been going to the gym, not making excuses. It's easy to make an excuse not going to the gym. Eating more healthy, just taking care of myself better.
Personal wellness. I love it.
We're dedicated. We got a plan. We got some strength goals that I will hit this year. And also, I love traveling. I love experiencing new things. That's where I get a lot of fulfillment in my life. So I've set a goal to see 10 new cities this year.
The power of positive relationships and the power of making sure that we're moving everyone forward together in a positive light. So I want to make sure that positivity, I want to make sure we're staying up. If you want to go up, you got to be up. So that's where we're going.